Hi, everybody. Welcome this afternoon. We're meeting one of my great friends here today. Is Joe Giametta. Joe's running the ABA Networking Club and a group or association. That's how we met. But I wanted to spend a little more time getting to know Joe, so I'm going to take it from the beginning. Welcome, Joe Giametta.
Michael, thank you very much for having me.
Joe, I'd like to know where you were born and where you were raised and went to school.
So I was born in a small town called Copeg on the South Shore of Long Island and grew up there. Then did a little movement. I moved over to a neighboring town, Lindenhurst, where I graduated high school from.
Okay.
So I'm a Lindy Bulldog.
I used to have a boat. I launched out of Lindenhurst a few times. I have a little ramp in near someone's backyard. Yeah. It's cool.
A little bit challenging going through school because those were arch rivals back in the day, Copeg and Lindenhurst. Yeah. So I had to navigate that, but I graduated from Lindenhurst.
Were you in any sports clubs, any music? What were you doing?
I played some baseball. I played basketball for Lindenhurst and was on some traveling teams, mostly baseball, a little bit of basketball.
So when you graduated, did you go to school?
I went to Nassau Community College.
Okay. What'd you focus on when you were at Nassau?
Business management.
Okay.
And actually got a job while I was in Nassau Community College.
Nice. But at Nassau, you wouldn't have had any opportunity to continue sports and stuff, right?
Yeah, not really.
Okay.
Not really. I still was playing some traveling sports.
Club stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool. Did you miss it?
Yeah, I miss it. I really do.
I know. Usually you're wired that way. It's something you kind of got to do through life.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's cool. So, you go to Suffolk Community. You get a little degree in Nassau Community. You get your degree in bachelor's. You started your first job while you were doing that, right?
Yeah, I got my dad had worked for Newsday for 30 years. So I started out as a newspaper carrier. I'll add, on the record, not a very good one. I was someone who wanted to sleep late on Sunday mornings.
Oh yeah.
So all the neighborhood families would call up my mom and say, "Could you get Joe out of bed? You know, I want my Sunday paper. Let's go."
They knew it. They knew they were waiting on you. Huh?
So, and my dad worked for Newsday for a long time. I said, "Dad, I'm sorry. I won't do it again." You know?
Well, what did he do?
He was a circulation manager.
Okay. So every Sunday morning he was trying to poke you and get you up knowing that you had a route to run,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That must have been rough for both of you.
It was rough for both of us, but I got through that. And, I always wanted to get into Newsday, follow my dad's footsteps. Newsday was, it's a great company, and I just wanted to be a part of it. Saw my dad, what he gave to the company and how much he loved it. So, there's a job posting, and he actually asked me to wait. He said, "Wait one more year. I'm going to retire in one more year. I don't want you to go into the job as Sal's son. I want you to go into the job as Joe Giametta, get the job on your own."
Sure.
I said, "Okay." So I did. I waited one more year. Job was posted. Went for the job. First thing an interview person said, "You're Sal's son, right?"
Yeah.
So I said, "Yes, I am." And anyway, I got the job, and I ended up starting in circulation.
So what does that mean as circulation manager or whatever you were doing? What were we doing?
Yeah, so back in the day, we had youth carriers delivering the paper to the doors. It wasn't adult carriers like they have now.
On bicycles, right? With
I had 12-year-old boys and girls that I used to drop off the papers to every single day.
Okay.
And they would deliver the papers, so I'd load up the van, in 90-degree heat or a blizzard and drive from house to house and drop off the papers to the carriers. And then they would get home from school, they'd deliver the paper.
I remember growing up, Newsday was the biggest thing. I mean, beside Grumman on Long Island, Newsday was really kind of it, right? And I remember my friends all being carriers, having the bags on the bicycles, missing routes. I got to go collect today. I remember all that stuff. That had to be very demanding for you, too, because you had to get up, get your stuff packed, and get out. What time did you start this job?
Well, when I was a carrier?
In the morning, like what time?
Well,
when you...
A manager.
When you were starting to bring it to the carriers.
Oh, so, we would load up in the morning, and it would take hours to go around the neighborhood and drop off the papers, hours. And then if we had a route that didn't have anyone delivering to that route, we were it.
So were you delivering to the carriers at like 6 a.m. or like 8 a.m.?
No, more or less. By the time we loaded the truck and did our paperwork in the morning, we would end up delivering probably somewhere between 10 and 2. So by the time they got home from school, the papers are there waiting for them.
All right, so that's late delivery then for the carrier.
Back then, it was late delivery. Yeah.
All right. So how does Sunday morning work? Is that a Saturday night drop or?
Well, yeah, Sunday, yes. It's Saturday night from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. You're dropping the papers off in the dark, and you can't make out the house numbers. First of all, it should be a law that people have big house numbers on the house so people can see them.
On the curb or something.
So the delivery people can see them because, I would get out of the truck and walk to the house, and it wouldn't be the right house. And it's, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. Nowadays it's a little more challenging to do that.
Right.
But that's what we did, yeah.
But that's a heck of a commitment on the schedule. It's not a straight normal hours gig.
No.
How long did you do that before you moved to the next level, next position?
I did that for a couple of years. I stayed in circulation for about 3 years, and then they were looking for volunteers to run a Newsday subscription program. And I remember being at a big meeting, all the managers were there, and they said, okay, we need volunteers, we need 3 volunteers. So I raised my hand, and I'm like, I'm in. And all my friends looked at me, and they're like, Joe, what are you doing? You're out of your mind. What are you leaving circulation for? A program that's, you have no idea what you're getting into.
Right. Because it was new.
Well, if it fails, you're out.
Right.
So I said, I'm in anyway, because I don't want to be loading this truck in the heat in the winter for the rest of my life. I didn't know that eventually we'd have adult carriers and the whole system would change anyway. I just said, I'm taking a plunge. I want to get into sales. So I did, and there were 3 volunteers. I was one of them, and we ended up at one point generating like 500 Newsday subscriptions a week.
That's crazy. So now you're a salesperson instead of an operations person delivering.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's a big change. Why do you think you were successful at that? Not everybody's good at sales.
I absolutely love it. And you know what I'll say, Michael, is I never felt like I sold anything in my life. I always, and I talk about this all the time, even in the meetings, and even business council meetings, I present opportunity. If you look at it from that standpoint, like you present an opportunity for whether it's an individual or a business, and you're not selling anything, that's a totally different aspect. And that's what I loved about it. It was like, I'm going to present an opportunity that I think is going to help you. And if you don't buy into it, you don't believe it, that's fine. We'll part ways. We still be friends and move on. I'll move on to the next potential customer. But that's my philosophy. It's always been my philosophy.
Well, that makes sense. It's a natural fit. That's who you are. So who is your customer that you're selling to? You walking into businesses now? Delis, bodegas, that kind of stuff?
Businesses and residential.
Residential.
They wanted home delivery, but many times businesses would take the paper too. They wanted to keep up on business topics, and so we would pitch anybody that was within our zip codes.
So if you're doing residential, are you knocking doors? You're literally walking in the streets and knocking
on doors.
Wow.
Day and night. Wow. Back in the day, you could do it at night.
Yeah.
After dinner time, you'd be knocking on doors. I had a crew that would go out at nighttime.
How old are you at this point? Are you still in your 20s? Or?
I'm in my late 20s and a manager and handling a crew of people that would not only knock on doors residential, but we'd also set up sites where we could see like the masses. So we had contracts with all the supermarkets across Long Island, major department stores, the malls. We'd be at fairs, expos, wherever we could be, and sometimes 8 to 10 locations every weekend. In addition to we call them foot crews that would go door to door and house to house.
It sounds like quite a team. You were really blitzing it and throwing everything you had at it, right?
Everything.
So you built this huge subscription business for the company. Because prior to that, it was just people signing up to have Newsday delivered to the house, right? It wasn't bulk. Now you're selling really ideally bulk, right?
Well, prior to that, they did a lot of telemarketing. And they still did. They did supplement it with telemarketing, but that was the primary resource. Plus, the managers would ask the carriers, the boys and girls, the young boys and girls, to go within their areas to the non-subscribers and ask them if they wanted the paper delivered. And that's generally, and they would give them prizes along the way.
Oh, so those are your leads, your warm leads.
Yeah, and we'd give them a hockey stick or a hockey puck, if they got 3 new customers in 1 week, they'd be able to win some prizes, and they enjoyed that. And Newsday taught a lot of things, the entrepreneurial aspect of things, customer service, how to provide great customer service, right. How to be kind to everyone, honest,
Accountability.
fair, accountability.
Right. You can't knock off what someone's waiting on a paper.
So many business lessons. Yeah.
Good for you. So tell me the rest of the progression. What happens next?
So I worked 25 years at Newsday. I worked my way up from a Newsday circulation manager, then ultimately going into advertising, as I said, in subscription sales. After that, I ended up going into the advertising department and became an account executive selling advertising revenue, advertising ad space, in the paper.
Okay.
And I did that, worked my way up to manager and then ultimately director of what we call director of major accounts. So I had about 8 or 9 verticals and a team of people that sold to some of the bigger companies on Long Island, whether it be education, colleges and universities, or healthcare, hospitals, home improvement, auto aftermarket.
Yeah.
A lot of big companies on Long Island. And I did that, and I had a $20 million ad budget at one point.
Wow.
when I left Newsday.
Wow. When did you start your family? When did you get married, kids? When did all that
I got
happen?
married at a very young age. I was married at 22 and a dad by the time I was 24.
So it seems very young now because today's standards, that's unheard of, right? But me too. I was married at 23, first kid at 26. So, right there. But that's not unusual.
Not back
Going
then.
back, right. Yeah. Now everybody's waiting until they're 30 at least, getting their careers together before they move forward.
Very different.
So
very
when you
different.
first got married, you were working those weird hours at the nights as a circulation manager?
Not when I first got married, but after a couple of years I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, after a couple of years I was working at Newsday.
Did your wife work also?
Yes.
What kind of career did she have?
She married twice. My first marriage, she was a CPA. She worked in accounting.
Okay, see,
And
that's
she was
why
working a lot of hours.
That's why I do this, because I get to find out some really cool things. So 2 marriages, I got that note. All right, so the reason I wanted to go there was because clearly as a CPA, she had fairly regular hours, and you didn't. I experienced that because I worked in the restaurant business a long time ago. So how did that contribute to any difficulties in the marriage?
Well, once I got solidified in advertising, I was working normal hours, and it was basically like 9 to 5, and we
Right.
did some events on the weekend. It wasn't as much nights and weekends.
You're still married to your first wife at this
Right.
point? Yeah, okay.
And it ended up flipping. She ended up working a lot of hours in accounting.
Yeah.
60, 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
So I had a much easier schedule, to work out.
It's funny because I feel like I went through that too, but just more recently.
Yeah.
I went from the restaurant business, and my wife went into corporate, and now I'm in a different schedule. I get to, call the shots when I go to work, and she's out there grinding.
Yeah.
So it's tough. So then you got to a point. Did you have children with your first wife?
Yes, 2.
Okay. So, all right. So how long were you married before you separated from your wife?
We were married 15 years.
Okay, and then you went on and moved on. Now, how long are you married to your second wife?
We were married 18 years.
Wow.
And we're together 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, we just celebrated our 18th anniversary on April 22nd.
Oh, well, that's great.
I make sure I get that right.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you have any children with her?
No, she has a child.
Okay.
So I'm stepdad to her daughter.
Oh, that's cool. I was waiting for you to tell me you married somebody who was like 22 years old. You moved on. But
She's
that's
a
great.
beautiful woman, and she's beautiful inside and out.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Tell me about your kids. How old are they?
So I have my daughter Lisa has 3 children.
Wow.
And 5. One's going to be 4, and then a 1-year-old. So I have 3 grandchildren
Congratulations.
with her, and then my son Matt. He's a former Marine.
Yeah.
He has a 2-year-old daughter. So we have 5, 4, 2, 1 are the ages. So
That's amazing.
4 under the age of 5.
Wow.
And they're all beautiful, and we love them to death, and they keep us
busy
very,
world.
very busy.
I've been given permission. I can now say that I'm going to be a grandfather soon. So our first is on the way, late October. So we're excited about it.
Oh,
so you've
wow.
got a whole clan there. You're ready to build a team.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's hard to believe, when you ask how old are the kids, it's hard to believe. I mean, my daughter's 38 years old, and my son's 32, and it's really hard to believe that they're that age. And
I know, because I'm going through the same thing, but I don't feel my age.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Now, they're coming up on experiences that I feel like I just did.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, all of it. It's fun.
Yeah, it's so true. And April she's 31, and her and my son-in-law Dylan just bought a house in St. James. So Lisa and her husband Mark, they live in Rockville Center.
Okay.
And Matt and Kim, they live in over by Crab Meadow Beach.
Yeah, I love that. I used to hang out there all the time.
Yeah, Northport, Fort Salonga address. And then, April and Dylan are over in St. James. Just did a beautiful renovation on the home. It's just spectacular.
Great.
So,
how long
thank goodness we have all three right here on Long Island.
How long did they get in the house?
They were married, be 2 years in July.
Yeah, so tough time to buy a house.
Yeah, again, it's hard to believe that time flies. I'm so bad with dates.
I know.
And because it's hard to believe that it just goes so fast, I feel like we're just celebrating their 1-year anniversary.
It's true. Joe, what are some of the hobbies and things that entertain you along the way besides working and taking care of your family?
Yeah, well, I'm a big sports guy.
Okay.
You hear my sports analogies in the meetings. I'm a big-time New York Rangers fan.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. And there's a common theme here. I'm also a New York Mets fan.
Yeah.
And it continues. I'm also a Minnesota Vikings fan.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
3 teams that really test me.
I went back in the day. We were liking the Vikings, Fran Tarkenton back in the day. I remember.
Well, that's how I got started. Of
course.
I grew up a Tarkenton fan, and he played for the New York Giants way back when. So I was watching the Giants on TV, and then Tarkenton got traded to the Minnesota Vikings, and I followed him over there. And then next thing I know, I'm watching the Vikings, and they're playing in the snow, and he's running around like a lunatic back there.
I don't think I knew that he was from the Giants.
He started out as a New York
that.
Giant.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So do you watch a lot of sports on TV? Do you go to a lot of sports games?
I don't go to as many as I used to, and I try and watch as much as I can.
Are you playing any of the games like with the what do you call the
Fantasy sports?
Fantasy sports.
Well, I did play a lot of fantasy baseball for years, and then life takes over and it gets a little more complicated. So I don't play fantasy sports anymore. But
so you're that guy that starts his day with a cup of coffee, opens the Newsday on the backside, looks at the sports section.
Always look at the back of the paper.
That's where you start, right?
Always.
Yeah. Okay. I got plenty of friends that are in sports. That's what they do. The day starts with finding out the scores and how we did yesterday.
Always.
That's
always.
great.
So yeah, big sports guy, and I love it. I think sports is one of the best things about this country.
I'm in agreement with you. I want to touch on something else because I'm cognizant of time. But somewhere along the way during this whole Newsday career, you've done some other things too.
Yeah, I DJ'd. Well, I had I don't know where to start. My brother had a dream always. He had 2 dreams, my brother. And may he rest in peace. I miss my brother dearly. I lost him about 8 years ago to cancer. And he had 2 dreams. And one he wanted to be a professional baseball player. He actually tried out for the New York Yankees.
Oh.
And during the tryout for the Yankees, he hit a home run batting righty and lefty.
Wow.
He had a close friend there that watched the whole thing and saw it with his own eyes. He was lightning fast. He had a great arm. He was basically what you would call in baseball a 5-tool player.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my brother suffered an eye injury, a serious eye injury as a child, and he was legally blind in one eye.
Oh.
And failed the eye test. And
You're hitting home runs. You can obviously see the thing coming at you at 90 miles an hour.
They would not take a chance on that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they wouldn't take a chance on him. So that dream did not get fulfilled. But his second dream was to own his own business, and he purchased a bar called Champagne's Cocktail Lounge. It was a small place in Copiague, and we turned it into a disco because we opened up in the late 70s. So here I am, 18, 19 years old, and my brother has a bar, and all of a sudden, I'm a DJ. Overnight, I become a DJ. So DJ Joey G, and I had a great time.
When was this again? What
Late 70s, early 80s,
So-
right when Saturday night.
So where were you then? You were just
Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, but were you in college at this point, or?
I had just graduated high school, yes.
Okay.
Graduated high school in 78.
All right, so you're still finding your way a little bit and experimenting.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm still trying to find my way.
Aren't we all? That's cool.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
listen. So now you've done a long career with Newsday. You finished your career with Newsday a few years ago, right? Why did it end? What was the reason that you moved on?
I voluntarily left. I needed a change. I went on to a company called Patch.com. I got some digital experience there. To fast forward, though, it's funny, I was 25 years at Newsday, and then I was trying to find my way along with different jobs. And ultimately, I found a job that I really desired, and that was with Long Island Business News. I started out as their ad director, and then after 4 years, I got promoted to be their publisher.
Okay.
That was a lifelong dream of mine. I either wanted to be the vice president of Newsday or a publisher for a smaller newspaper.
Okay.
So when I became the publisher, it was just so exciting for me. I really wanted to help business professionals and businesses, love being here in New York, thrive in New York, and do whatever I could possibly do to help them.
That's terrific. So how long were you with them?
I was with them for 6 years.
Oh, okay. Why did that come to an end?
In July of 2019, the company decided to downsize. Newspaper industry is going through tough times.
You went from print to digital, or they were struggling to keep up with it?
Struggling to keep up.
Yeah.
And they eliminated my position.
Yeah.
And needed to downsize. So I was on the outside looking in. I had been a member of ABA, American Business Associates, for 6 years. The entire 6 years I was with Long Island Business News. In fact, the first week I joined, Ellen Volpe, the president and CEO, contacted me and said, we'd love to have a representative from LIBN join ABA. So I did. I went to one meeting. I heard the longevity around the room. People were there 18 years, 20 years, 12 years, even 5 and 8 years. And I like, this longevity speaks for itself.
Okay.
I'm in. So I was there for 6 years. And in July of 2019, I have to share this story because this will really tell you about the people of ABA. I was asked to go to a breakfast on a Friday morning by one of the people that were in my council. Now take into consideration, when I started in the ABA 6 years before being let go at Long Island Business News, I didn't really know anybody in the council. I knew of them, but I had no friends, relationships within that whole group. I was a newbie in that group. So fast forward 6 years later, a gentleman calls me up, a friend of mine, he says, I want you to meet me at the Huntington Hilton at 8 a.m. on Friday. I said, okay, I got nothing else going on, I'm there. I went there, and there were about 10 or 11 people from my council. Okay. I walked in, and I was like, what's going on? And they're like, sit down, we're all here to help you. We're not leaving until we figure out what your next move is, what direction you're going to go in. And, when you think about that, I'm not sure how do you put a value on that?
But why did they recognize that there was an opportunity to have that conversation with you?
Well,
were you on the edge with the paper at this point? Did you feel it coming?
I put something out when I was released from Long Island Business News. I put something on social media.
All right.
I still have the post saved to this day because it's very humbling, and I received 31,000 views.
Jeez.
I had 200 likes and 125 comments.
Wow.
I saved that post because these are people that didn't forget. I did my very best for 6 years to try and help as many people as I possibly could, and they all reached out. So a few people offered me positions, not full-time positions, but projects. Joe, work on this project, work on that project. So I took them up on the offer. So when I was approached by the people from ABA, I said, I don't really have a full-time job. I have some projects I'm working on. So they're like, well, let's talk about it. And during that meeting, it came up that why don't you talk to Ellen? You'd make a great facilitator for ABA.
All right. Yeah. So this is a good point to now have you introduce ABA and tell us what the American Business Association is about.
So American Business Associates has been around for 35 years. It is the heart and soul of networking. It's exactly what networking is supposed to be. It's relationship building. I go to every meeting with 3 goals in mind, and that's first and foremost to build a referral community for each and every member. Right. Second, it's to enhance your life personally and professionally. And third, to accelerate your growth.
Okay.
That's our goals. And in 35 years, we've actually been growing. Pre-pandemic, you want to rewind 3 or 4 years ago, there were 8 councils in ABA. There are now 16.
Okay.
So we've grown a lot.
Lots of folks have done networking groups, myself included, and they're very different. Mm-hmm. Some are expensive, some are not. But what's really different about ABA than some of the other groups that we've been to?
Well, the first thing, I have 6 councils that I facilitate. And being a sports guy, I looked at why do teams win championships? Why does one group of players win a championship and the other 30 or 31 didn't? Especially when you look at some of the other 30 teams and you say, you know what? They look like they have a lot more talent than that one who won.
Right.
The common denominator from all of the sports is they learned how to play as a team. Mm-hmm. We just saw this in the Rangers-Devils series. Yeah. The Rangers had so much more talent than the Devils.
That's right.
Not even close.
That's right.
Well, look who won and look who didn't.
Yeah.
The Devils moved on with far less talent because they played better as a team.
Yeah.
So what I try and do with all the 6 councils that I facilitate is get people to buy into a team concept. Right. And when you think of that word, what do you think of? That means I truly care about the person next to me.
Yeah.
Personally and professionally.
From where I sit, one of the things I notice is many of the networking groups, when you get in a group, you meet each other, you exchange information, and you share. It's a sharing session. In the ABA group that you manage, it's a lot more of you deliberately finding people to put together. Michael, you need to meet this guy. I'm going to go find him for you. You find him, then you make sure we have an introduction, and you then foster that relationship. So it's a little bit different because your role is very active in deliberately trying to make something happen, as opposed to many of the other network groups that are a little bit more passive. I mean, some are aggressive, but not quite. They're not quite orchestrated the same way. They're really very different.
You bring up a great point, Michael, because when I'm speaking to someone about the possibility of joining the ABA, one of the things I'll tell them is whether you join ABA or you don't, whatever organization you decide to be a part of, the first thing you have to do is look at the leader. Who's the person at the front of the room? Mm-hmm. Do they care about me?
Right.
And I mean both personally and professionally. Do they care about me? Because if they don't, run the other way.
Yeah.
Because it starts with the coach. Every sports team, every business organization, it starts at the head. It's the coach, it's the CEO, it's the business owner. And if they don't care about you...
It's true. I was in a group not very long ago. I felt like I was the victim of a sales pitch every time the group met. It felt like it was only about getting the group bigger, but it wasn't focused on me, my needs, or other people in the room and pushing relationships together. It just felt like get more members, get more members, get more members, Well,
one of the beauty attributes of ABA is that it's exclusivity. So you're the only person in the room that does what you do.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how you could create a team environment without that aspect.
Sure.
How do you create a team if, you're a real estate agent? If you're in a group with 6 other real estate agents, how are you a part of a team?
Not at all.
How do the people know if they get a referral who to give it to?
That's right.
You're not a team.
Right.
And if you're not a team, again, you're not performing at the maximum level that you could be if you were a team.
Right. Do you have targets for how large to grow a group or not grow a group, or is it just more about balancing out the group? How do you approach that?
Well, 2 things. I want to have a group that's between 15 and 20 people,
okay.
Not much larger.
Okay.
Because, again, I think that's the optimum number for a team concept where people can really interact with each other. Yeah. Because another word that I'll use that's very important at ABA is frequency. We meet twice a month. And there's a reason for that. We have breakout rooms on our Zoom calls. There's a reason for that. That increases the frequency. It accelerates the process of the relationship because you're seeing the people over and over and over again, and that's okay. That's a good thing.
What happens when you get good talent in front of you? Do you end up at some point adding another group, another council?
Yeah, that's kind of how I've been expanding. I'm at 6 councils now, though. I don't see any way I'd be able to add more than that because, like you said, you said matchmaking is one of my jobs. I have three jobs within a job. So first, it's to create an agenda that is it's important, it's educational, it's informative, it's motivating, it's energizing, and there's a reason for people to want to come back.
Yeah.
I have to build that agenda every single week. The second thing I need to do is create those relationships. I can't rely on, you're busy, you're doing other things. A day may go by, a week may go by, weeks, months before you're making connections. So I try and, like you said, make those connections for you. Michael, you need to meet Joe, or you need to meet Christine. So I try and make those connections for you to help you. And the third thing is I recruit. Because I look and see what's missing from the team that could help Michael. Who's missing in that room?
Right.
So I can maximize. It's sort of like same thing like a sports team. I'm missing a closer.
Yeah.
Or I'm missing a guy that's good at bunting. Or a guy that's
starting quarterback.
Starting quarterback.
You know, we're getting close on time. I have a couple more thoughts I want to make. First of all, I want to tell everybody, the viewers here, that our council meets on a Zoom call almost all the time, exclusively. It's convenient for people. Having said that, the power and the energy comes from us taking that Zoom call and having personal relationships and one-on-ones outside of that call, getting together, having a cup of coffee or whatever it's going to be, right? So the other thing that's great is we also have cross-council meetings periodically where we bring multiple groups together. Mm-hmm. So I went to my first one not too long ago. I walked in a room, I knew 3 people there that I had done work with in the past. I had no idea whether they were part of ABA or in a different council.
No kidding.
So that was kind of cool, running into people. So for our viewers out there, there's going to be some people that want to get involved in a networking group and certainly want to get to know Joe Giametta a little further. This was great. But what would be the process? If I have somebody that wants to get involved, I got a friend who's a contractor who wants to become part of our group, how do people get started?
Well, the best way is to just reach out to a facilitator, and because we have to make sure that that exclusivity factor is protected.
Right.
So you reach out to a facilitator, or you go on the website and you could register to be a guest of the website. But easiest way is to call Ellen or call me and give us the information, and we'll get the person to come down as a guest and check it out. Just check it out and see if they like it.
And we're going to make that happen today. So what you'll see today is when we post the video, we'll have a graphic up with your contact information about ABA, your phone number and all that, so people can get in touch with you directly. But you surely can reach out to me. I'm always looking for comments and ideas how to move this forward, what kind of guests you'd like me to talk to. We're going to put some information up. Charlie's going to post some snippets from this interview today on Instagram and all the other places, but the long interview will be on my YouTube channel. So please go to Michael Starrantino at YouTube, check it out. I've got lots of great interviews like this one I had today with Joe. Joe, you and I could probably spend another couple hours together just kind of digging in and unpeeling this onion, but I really appreciate you coming today. We had a great talk. I'm going to bring you back. We're going to do it again.
Excellent.
Any final thoughts you want to share before I bust us out of here?
That would be great. I have one more project that I'm working on. I want people to check it out. It's sportsmoviescharity.com.
Yes.
Check out the website, and it combines my love of sports with my passion to help not-for-profits.
So how are we doing this? Explain this a little further.
Yeah, so I got caught with trying to help not-for-profits, and I wish I had the monetary backing to give money to everybody, but I don't. So what I decided to do is develop a website where people could purchase memorabilia, and I'm a strategic partner with Triple Crown Fundraising and Bobby Ross, one of my dear friends, and we've combined efforts, produced a website. You go to the website, it's very easy. You select the memorabilia, either sports or movies, and then you select from a drop-down what charity you'd like to support, and a portion of those proceeds go to the charity.
Oh, that's cool.
So we feel like we're helping multiple charities and multiple missions.
And then to each his own, right?
Correct.
Sportsmoviescharity.com.
Sportsmoviescharity.com.
That's cool. We're going to come back. We're going to put that information up again. Joe, thank you so much today. Appreciate it. Again, everybody check out the YouTube channel at Michael Starrantino, and we'll have this full interview up.